The jarring ring shattered the night's silence. Evan Ward jolted awake, heart pounding, hand instinctively reaching for the Glock 19 he no longer carried. "Who is this?" he growled, voice thick with sleep and suspicion. "Ward, it's Raptor. We need you back." The voice was clipped, urgent. Raptor, his former handler. Memories sharp and unwelcome flooded Evan's mind. Covert missions, betrayals, the bitter taste of a life left behind. "I'm out, Raptor, you know that." Evan's voice hardened. He had sworn he wouldn't be pulled back into that world, the world of shadows and secrets. "This is bigger than both of us. It's about national security. You have 30 minutes to reach the White House. Come to the south entrance. Someone will be waiting." The line went dead. Evan stared at the phone, a knot of dread tightening in his gut. He was being pulled back in, whether he liked it or not. The White House, usually a beacon of democracy and hope, seemed different tonight. An undercurrent of tension hummed beneath the surface, a discordant note in the familiar symphony of state. Evan showed his credentials, the old anxiety returning like a phantom limb. He was escorted through sterile corridors, the air thick with hushed whispers and the scent of fear. He was led into a nondescript elevator that descended deep beneath the earth. The doors opened into a brightly lit high-tech bunker, a stark contrast with the historical building above. Giant screens displayed a dizzying array of data, and men and women in crisp uniforms moved with a sense of controlled urgency. He was in the heart of the beast, the nerve center of American power. Evan felt a hand on his shoulder, firm, familiar. He turned to see Raptor, his face etched with the weariness of a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Good to have you back, Ward," Raptor said, his voice barely a whisper. "We have a situation." Raptor led him through a labyrinth of corridors, the silence broken only by the rhythmic hum of machinery. Finally, they reached a heavily guarded steel door. Two armed guards snapped to attention as Raptor entered a code. The room was dimly lit, the air thick with cigarette smoke and tension. A woman sat at a steel table, her face obscured by shadows. As they approached, she looked up, and Evan's breath caught in his throat. Mia Santos, his former partner, his one-time lover. "Mia," Evan choked out, disbelief warring with a surge of something deeper, something he had tried hard to bury. Her presence changed everything. She had walked out of his life as abruptly as she had entered it, leaving him with nothing but questions and a heart full of shrapnel. "Long time, Evan," Mia said, her voice a husky whisper, her eyes betraying nothing of her thoughts. The atmosphere in the room crackled with unspoken history, with the ghosts of their shared past. Raptor cleared his throat, breaking the spell. "There's no time for pleasantries," he said, his voice sharp. "We have a situation, a breach at the highest levels." He laid out the facts with the chilling clarity of a seasoned operative. A mole had infiltrated the government, a ghost in the machine, strategically placed to bring the nation to its knees. This was not just another op, this was a ticking time bomb threatening to shatter the very foundations of their democracy. "The President has issued a silent directive," Raptor continued, his gaze unwavering. "A covert operation to neutralize the threat at any cost. This was the darkest of scenarios, a clandestine operation with no oversight, no accountability." Mia spoke, her voice devoid of emotion, "and we have less than 24 hours to stop it." The clock was ticking, every second pushing them closer to the precipice. Evan stared at the screen, a whirlwind of data swirling before his eyes. Names, dates, locations, all pointing towards a conspiracy so audacious, so chilling it defied belief. He had been out of the game for too long, but the old instincts kicked in, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Who is the mole?" Evan asked, his voice tight. Raptor shook his head, his face grim. "That's what we need you to find out. We have our suspicions, but we need concrete evidence." The air crackled with tension. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford, not now. "We're running out of time," Mia said, her eyes fixed on the screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "The mole is one step ahead of us, manipulating events from the shadows." Evan felt a surge of adrenaline, a familiar cocktail of fear and excitement. The hours blurred into a frantic race against time. Leads turned into dead ends, suspicions morphed into accusations, and the tension in the bunker ratcheted up with every passing moment. Evan and Mia worked in a tense silence, their shared history and unspoken language that crackled between them. "We need to access the mainframe," Mia said, her voice tight. "That's where we'll find the evidence we need." But the mainframe was the most heavily guarded system in the country, virtually impenetrable. Evan felt a surge of frustration. They were so close, yet so far. "There has to be another way," he muttered, his mind racing. Mia's eyes narrowed. "There is," she said, a hint of steel in her voice, "but it's risky. We need to get someone on the inside." The plan was audacious, bordering on reckless, but it was their only shot. They needed to turn the tables, use the mole's arrogance against him. Using their limited resources and a network of old contacts, they set a trap, a digital honeypot designed to lure their prey into the open. The minutes ticked by, each one an eternity. Every flicker on the screen, every blip on the radar sent a jolt of adrenaline through Evan. He hadn't lost his edge, but the stakes were higher than ever before. This wasn't just about saving his own skin, it was about saving innocent lives, protecting his country from an insidious threat. "We got him," Mia whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the machines. On the screen, a series of codes flickered, a digital breadcrumb trail leading them to their target. The mole had taken the bait. With the first light of dawn, they had their answer. The mole, a high-ranking official, someone trusted, someone close. The betrayal cut deep, shaking Evan to his core. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of trust, the ease with which power could corrupt. "We need to move now," Raptor said, his voice grim. "He's scheduled to meet with his contact within the hour." This was it, the final act, the culmination of a night fueled by adrenaline and fear. The arrest was swift, clinical, almost anticlimactic. But the relief was palpable, the air in the bunker lighter, the tension easing for the first time. Evan watched as the man was led away, his face etched with a mixture of arrogance and defeat. "It's over," Mia said, her voice soft, but Evan could detect a tremor beneath the surface. Evan stood at the window of his apartment, the city waking up below, oblivious to the silent war that had raged just hours before. He had survived another night in the shadows, but the scars remained. He had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious, but at what cost? The phone rang, shattering the silence. It was Mia. "It's done," she said, her voice weary. "The silent directive has been executed." He could hear the unspoken question in her voice. Could they go back to the way things were, pretend this night had never happened? "Mia," he began, but the words caught in his throat. Trust, he realized, was a luxury he could no longer afford, not in their world. He had walked away once, seeking solace in the shadows, but the shadows had a way of pulling you back in. "Goodbye, Mia," he whispered, the line going dead. He was left with the echo of her silence, a chilling reminder that some wounds never truly heal.